Karol Robak of Poland, there he is, 17-year-old, and he's up against Mario Silva of Portugal. The big news here, John, and I need to ask your comment on this. Karol Robak beat Silva Taekwondo, the man who has got more medals to his name than I think anybody else in Taekwondo at the moment. John, your comments on that? 21-9.
Yeah, it's a huge victory for the youngster Robak to beat, world and Olympic champion on numerous occasions, Taekwondo Silva. He came fresh from the Worlds where he was excellent at the tuck, but this young man, Karol Robak, paid no attention to the reputation. And also sometimes when you come off of a major competition like a Worlds, you can be a little bit stale, and it looked that way for Silva. But what can Silva do? He will have heard that in the call room to realise that the main man is out.
Yeah.
And he has to fight the man that beat the man.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at what happens.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing this man in blue here. 17 years old, the Portuguese athlete, 25 years old, so 8 years difference in age. But Robak was quite amazing in that first round bout. I'm just looking at my notes here about Silva Taekwondo. I think I filled up a whole page, and they've all got golds against them. 4 times European gold medalist, world champion, Olympic champion, and beaten 21-9 is a true shock, and probably the shock of the day. And now we've got 2 relatively unknown fighters.
And you can see why. Karol Robak's, he's just fired in that headshot there, flicked it up over the shoulder. And he's not here about reputations, he's here on business, and he's taken care of it so far.
Yes, he's obviously a free scoring. If you score 21 points against Taekwondo, you are a free scoring athlete, and we already saw it there with the headshot. He likes to score in threes, maybe. 7 headshots, 21. Looking good so far. And Silva, obviously trying to suss out his opponent here.
It'll help him there though, the Kyongo, and the point that he's taken under the guard of the Polish fighter. And Robak just taking his time here. He's made a good start to this, an enterprising start. He's got a very solid stance. That's what gives you explosive power. Sometimes now the fighters have a very short stance, which means both feet are close together. Makes them quite flighty and light on their feet as they move around. But Robak, a very solid stance, back leg, arrow straight.
So he's obviously a very accomplished fighter. That was 10-9. Robak looking at the scoreboard on a regular basis.
It's so important to stay focused to the last second.
When he was 15, it's not one of the top rated events on the circuit, but he still beat Antonio Divkovic of Croatia 15-1 in the final, so that's not a bad score. He's obviously a free scorer.
Yeah, he loves to let his legs go, and Silva has to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Obviously trains alongside Rui Bragança, that we've seen, the other Portuguese starlet, so they know how to get into the medal matches and cause some trouble. But Robak, he's rolling back the years in terms of the stance. He's very, very strong, and he's picked off another one there on the inside.
4-1, yeah, I was just about to say we don't have a scoreboard, but I'll give you the score anyway. 4-1 with just 30 seconds gone in this second period. This could be a real breakthrough. Sometimes this happens in the sport, isn't it? An unknown comes through and you get a real breakthrough, just like Charlie Maddock yesterday.
Absolutely, Adrian, you're spot on with that. I was just thinking about that. The first ever European Games title for Maddock, richly deserved. And a similar style in terms of Robak, in terms of strength. He's happy to stand in there and use that front leg to put his opponent off. Silva still well in it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not determined yet. These two. Silva's obviously a quality athlete, and he's, you sense that he's a little bit wary. You get the feeling that he's obviously aware that this man has just beaten Taekwondo and by a big score, and he doesn't seem to be freely. He's sort of, I think, a bit aware that if he puts a move in, that Robak will just pick him off comfortably.
Yeah, he's trying to keep it close, trying to keep it tight, and it's a good tactic at the minute, because if he takes away the momentum from Robak, he has a chance. And also, technically and tactically, they're not poles apart, because the big pole, Robak, is only 4-1 to the good, but we haven't seen much in terms of the attacking competency of the Portuguese fighter.
I think, strangely enough, both athletes will actually be quite happy the way things are right now. I think Silva will be happy that he's already not lost. Oh, there's the big head kick as he was going down. Now, will the referee... Yes, he's also given a Kyungo. That was a 3.5 pointer. I've wondered whether he'd called Kallio, but he hadn't. There was a separation going on. And that was a sneaky one there, wasn't it, from Robak? You know, he saw his opponent was going a bit off balance and thought, and how quick was he to react to that, get the leg up, touch the head?
Yep, that's the fighting mentality. You have to look for the weakness. If you can't find one, you have to create one. But as you mentioned before with Silva, he was in the effort of trying to win. He goes with the shot here, and watch the jump here from the pole on the inside. Picks off a little shot, and here's the head kick. The jumping shot on the way through, right in the back of the head. And if
And Silva is going to have to now come a little bit out of his shell in this third period, because he's been dancing and fighting pretty carefully so far, but now he's got to do something. And this is where Robak may well just step in and score points, as he's already just scored a sneaky one around the back there.
It's a good shot again. And the thing about Silva that he has to take away from this match, he's lost 4 of those points on the inside.
Yeah.
Apart from that one that's been removed for the head kick. But
well,
he's also lost the exact same headshot twice. So that's a little bit of naivety in terms of making the same mistake twice. It can happen in a match, that's fine. But you'll need to learn from that one, because it's been the same shots that have worked for the pole.
Yeah. And he's definitely one of these little sneaky fighters as well. Whenever there's a clinch, he's always in there with the foot to try and score a point. And, you know, we talked about this yesterday. You know, it's allowed under the rules. So it's a valid, it's not exactly part of fighting, really. It's not a sort of... But it's a scorer, and it's permitted under the current rules. And a lot of these athletes, like in this situation, as soon as there's a clinch, get the foot up, see if you can nick a quick point.
And he's done it very effectively, as you say, Adrian. It's within the rules. That's what's required, and that's what a fight is you've got to do anything to create an advantage for you and be a nightmare and a difficulty for your opponent. And, you know, Silva trying to put a little run in at the end here, but it's going to be too little too late, I fancy.
Yeah. And again, another point for the Polish athlete, just on the counter-attack. He's well within his safety zone here. Of course, there's a few more bouts to come, so there's no need for Robak to really expend any major energy now towards the latter end here. Don't be disappointed. You know, these guys aren't going to be... You're not going to see any showboating now. There's a lot more fighting to come, and why expend energy here when you can get out and into that changing room?
And I think this is just as impressive as you mentioned the earlier win that Robak had against the heavy favoured Tazagul Servet. To produce it again, that shows consistency. Consistency is the hallmark of champions, and he will not be settling for Silva.
Yeah. Tried that little sneaky one again, but with 6 seconds to go, Karol Robak is going to be one bout away from a gold medal final, and he's also going to have an excellent chance. He's guaranteed at least a bronze medal final now as he reaches the semi-final here. The youngster, 17 years old. We had this yesterday. So many youngsters. We had 2 17-year-olds and a 19-year-old in the 2 finals yesterday. And Robak, well,